Hi everyone. This week on Cooper's Corner, I'm just going to do another glance at my year in grade 6 writing. So again, I'm going to touch on lots of different things. I'm thinking I'm going to go deeper into some of them in future Cooper's Corners, but if you're interested and you want to come see me before those come out, you're obviously always welcome. So looking at my year, and this is just sort of a document where I write all my thinking on, so I'm just going to refer to this. The first thing, very similar to the reading, I want to get done is a writing assessment. I can tell you a lot more about how that writing assessment looks, but really the purpose is so the kids can see their growth and so you know where you're going with your teaching. I would suggest doing a personal narrative, so I have them for the first one write about a friend, and then you're going to assess them using some consistent rubric. So I've made this rubric. I tried using the BC Performance Standards, but because I have my kids self-assess and as well as I assess, it was just, there's too many words on there. So I've kind of adapted it from that as well as how I teach my writing, which is with the two main goals. Is your writing clear? And is your writing interesting? So we do the assessment at the beginning of the year. I fill this out, they fill it out themselves. We have to show each other, and then we'll do it at the end of the year. And it's lovely to see they see their own growth. As I have them for 2 years, I also then we did it again next September, grade 7, and the following June. And we keep all our writing. If you look back here, we have writing folders. So all their writing will go into one of these red folders, and this will be stored in one of these alphabetical ordered hanging folders. So when they look in the June of grade 7 at their writing starting from the September of grade 6, they see the growth, and that's lovely. The other reason it's nice to do that writing assessment right off the bat is when the parents come in for Meet the Teacher in October, November, you have something concrete to show them. So and it does take a little bit of time, but I photocopy that writing document so the kids have their own copy, and I have my copy, and I have my rubric in a hanging folder over here. I'd like the kids to share it, but they lose them, so I have one as well. And this year, because last year I did writing one day and reading the other. This year I'm focusing on reading, then gonna focus on writing. I'll have to say to the parent, we focus this term a lot right now on reading, but this is where your kid is to begin with at writing. And you can look and see where there's room for growth, and we're gonna focus on those things starting November, December, that kind of thing. Because I really, as I mentioned, I wanna do reading power and comprehension for my first part of the year. So going back to my document here, I can talk more about how the writing assessment looks in a future Cooper's Corner, or you can come and see me. So when we get to the writing part of the year, which I'm hoping will be by November, I will be basing what I do on what I see in their writing. And that's why starting with the writing assessment is really important. As I mark them, the rubric, I try not to do too much writing on the things, just circling on the rubric. If I notice a common error, something like they're not using paragraphs, they don't capitalize their I's, a lot of them are doing the same mistake, I type it on a document and I share it with everyone. Because my first year, I spent a lot of time writing so many comments on all their papers, and I remember seeing kids just throw them in the recycling. And that breaks your heart. So I try to do the individual assessment relatively quickly, circling on a rubric that they've seen ahead of time, and then having a separate document with feedback, and that guides my teaching. My guess is I'm probably gonna be needing in, so I've made some guesses here, some assumptions. Things like spacing we'll need to talk about, triple scoop words, are they using interesting vocabulary, adding interesting details. Adrian Gear gives beautiful lessons about really easy, user-friendly, easy to do lessons for how to do each of these things. So then I think about what I need and I do those lessons. I have a feeling I'm also going to need to focus on paragraph writing. So I have a really specific way that I teach paragraphs I'm happy to share with you. like physically moving parts of the paragraph around and then having the kids practice that structure. You can see up here, I will revisit, so they're starting the year for their assessment with a personal narrative. They're gonna write about a friend. Then we'll do some teaching, and then I'm gonna have them do a second personal narrative. Great little video if you ever wanna talk about sort of making your stuff better, Austin's Butterfly, look that up. But this will be similar but different. I think I had them write about themselves or something the second time. And hopefully then they'll see, even from that one in September, look, now Miss Cooper's taught me some things, my writing has already improved. And that's spacing. Sometimes kids in September write like really weird, and then it's like, okay, great, now I'm using lines, I'm double spacing. And the reality is, it's kind of nice, very little instruction for that first assessment, so they're able to really easily see that growth. After Christmas, I will start to, in my English class, look specifically at persuasive writing. In socials, I don't think I have it on this side, but I'll start to teach descriptive writing, and that just falls into my classes nicely. The persuasive writing, again, I have a really specific way how I go about it. It's nice because it's an easy one for the kids to do. They like to argue. Descriptive, I tie it into global issues, so it's like, grade 6, is all global issues. So I say, okay, we need to know about the world, so they do the standard country project. They're describing a country. I like them to have persuasive and descriptive, so then when it comes to March, after spring break, we can go focus on Speech Fest, and they've already done a persuasive and a descriptive write, and I let them choose what they're gonna do for that after. For the rest of the year, we sort of focus on the global issues. Project takes over a bit. At the end of the year, because global issues can be a bit sad, I like to teach biography, and they do a biography of an inspirational person. Couple other things, and the end of the year, that writing assessment again. Exactly the same document again, hopefully seeing growth in their writing. Just a couple things to note. Adrienne Gear, in her Powerful Writing Structures book, makes it really easy. She talks about the fact that kids are successful if they have a framework. And she gives some really simple frameworks, like persuasive, it's like, what are you saying? Why, what was that again? And it sort of ties, whether you're primary or if it's paragraphs in an intermediate, ties nicely. Descriptive, it's more like, what are you talking about? 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 So we use these frames. She also suggests, and it's worked well for me, this structure of, we should be doing 70% structured writing. So I think of that as, I've set them up nicely, and there's a way we go about the writing. 20% unstructured. So the suggestion is, if you let kids just write freely too much, they might just reinforce some bad habits. So I'm thinking, on Fridays during silent reading, I'll say, you know what, if you want to write in a journal, you can do so at that time. Only 10% publish. So that's like, you only should be marking like 10% of that writing. At least I would say maybe one writing assignment per term, but you don't need to be marking everything they write all the time. In terms of how it goes, because I have, I think, a couple moments here. Oops, my timer's gone, sorry. What am I at? I have one, okay, just over a minute. In terms of how my teaching looks, the big focus, I don't follow this how she does it, but a lot on the plan. We're gonna start, even for my writing assessment, we're gonna look at different plans. I should say my first thing is I start with an anchor book. So for my writing assessment, it's gonna be about a friend. So I'm gonna read Friend Shape to them. I'm gonna read My Best Friend Sometimes. And then I'm gonna share 3 different types of plans that I've made about my friend Tanya. We brainstorm some big ideas. What might you be talking about? And then I have them make their own plans. So there's a list plan, a web plan, a 4-corner picture plan, depending on where they are. Really important to get them to essentially say what they're gonna write before they write it. Once they've done their plan, I will have them move around the class and say their writing to at least 5 kids. When they're gonna write, the day of, I say, okay, cover your ears, say it to yourself, then start writing. Once we get to that publish phase, when it comes to like proofreading, editing, I have them edit themselves, but then something I have them do, and it's a little uncomfortable, but it works well, is if I have a partnership, I have the other partner read the writing to the author. And so that other partner can be like, I think this word's spelled incorrectly, or maybe this is a bit confusing. We talk about being polite and about how all published authors have editors. We need other people to help us make our writing stronger. I think that's all I have to say for now, and that's about 10 minutes, I think, Mr. Lauser. A little over, sorry about that. Okay, thank you very much. Please come see me if you have any questions.